that's really messed up.
And what I find scary about this is that if I'm running a startup and these AI tools are available, we all know there's an AI arms race going on. The companies that can implement AI most effectively are going to win. It's going to be a winner take all type of scenario. And here you've got these biases working against using these tools, which create productivity.
Yeah, very counterintuitive.
Forward.
Start it up. Let's get it rolling. Big ideas, money folding. Hustle smart, dream so wide. Turn that grind into a joyride.
Yeah.
Start it up.
Just so
let's get it rolling. Big ideas, money folded. Welcome to the program. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Go.
I love the theme music.
Yeah, it's much better when we sing it.
No, it's not.
What's going on?
All right. So today I want to talk about, so think about AI, right? And I've kind of had this feeling for a while in the back of my mind. And then I read an article recently from HBR and I was like, oh, they put their finger on it. Okay. And it's like this, if I use AI, will everybody think I'm dumb? Okay. And especially as a coder.
What if they already think you're dumb?
Can it get any
worse?
Can I
then
go to?
You must use AI by this.
If I'm already at 0, can I go negative?
It's not up to 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, read a really good article from HBR on this topic. They were talking
kind of
about.
Interesting.
I just want to put a little bit.
So people, hang on, just so I get this right. So people think that you're dumb for using AI.
Right. Like, let's say you're a weak employee. Okay. All right. Let's set the stage.
Like, okay.
We're a software company. Okay.
Like, why don't we say like underperforming? You mean? Is that what you're trying to say?
Sure.
Or like generally an underperforming.
You're new, or you're just not as
you're not confident.
You don't have
job,
the skills.
You're not really sure. Okay.
Think about employees and their skill sets. It's a spectrum. Some people are going to be more proficient.
It's kind of weird to think about, but yeah, like obviously people are not as strong necessarily. Like there are people who are better and worse at their jobs for sure. Right. I usually think of it as pretty tight. I don't think of people, if you're like really weak performing, you usually have a new seat or something, or you're fired.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So think like software. We'll use software development. I think it would equally work well with like a sales department.
Totally. Yeah.
Or something like that.
Okay.
So you're in a software company and you are writing code, you are putting in your pull requests, you're writing so many lines per week or whatever your sprints might be. And you're the person that it's no mystery that you are using AI heavily to help you. Okay. And what they put their finger on was that there's a perception that the people using AI aren't as intelligent or aren't as competent. So, and I think that is one of my hesitations sometimes when I'm going to be coding stuff and I'm thinking, well, maybe I could use AI to help me, but it's almost like, oh, maybe I shouldn't because I don't want to be one of those dumb coders who can't code. And,
actually, on a semi-related point. So my most successful LinkedIn post, which I know everyone here is very closely following my LinkedIn, is that was on kind of like vibe coding. And obviously vibe coding being like you use a tool like give me a what's that one? Lovable that I use, and it codes the thing for you, so to speak. It's it doesn't always work great, but it works. And a lot of the responses from it was a big debate on this. Like the comments are crazy, back and forth, like really intense. I think there's some people who are defending their livelihoods on the one hand. You know what I mean? Obviously the people who are software developers. And they made a lot of really good points though too. But that was the most aggressive thing that I've seen in a response to one of my posts. And I think it was really just because there was definitely a looking down your nose at the people who are vibe coding without a software background from the people with a software background. Some of it warranted potentially, some of it not. But I thought that was really fascinating. I think it kind of is what you're talking about here. This manifestation of, well, you're dumber for using it, which I think is really counterintuitive.
Yeah. So I just want to read a sentence from my notes here. So despite the tools promise to boost productivity, only 41% of engineers had tried AI coding assistance within the past 12 months, with particularly low adoption among female engineers and engineers over 40. So if you're female or you're over 40, you don't want to use over AI 40, I get? Because people will think you are dumb.
Over 40, I get.
Why?
Well, because you feel more experienced and you feel like, I'm not over 40, but I imagine when you're well over 40, as you are, that you start to feel that like, you know a lot, you have a lot of experience to build on, and maybe you feel like this tool isn't really going to help you. I think also those people are doing more complex coding things, like more complex problems, more challenges.
Okay.
Whereas younger coders will benefit. It'll make up for the skills gap or experience gap that they have with their older counterparts.
I
Does that
definitely
seem true?
know when I was coding, this was like pre AI. Like we weren't, when I was doing heavy coding, AI wasn't really a thing that could
No,
help
of course
you. There
not.
was code completion and stuff like that, but it was pretty weak. It wasn't anything near what we have now.
Yeah.
And I know myself, I could get into a real flow where the code was just pouring out off
Cool.
my fingers. And I didn't even have to think about it.
Right.
And I could see that there are maybe some experienced developers that they can just get themselves into that mode. And like, why would I like,
Yeah, like it actually might hurt more. It also would get in the
Yeah.
way of the process.
So-
But why the women piece? Though?
Yeah,
that's
the
what I'm kind of
female
interested in.
engineers. Okay, so let me add another piece.
Obviously,
of
we're not women.
information
There's
here.
probably some women listening today be like, I know exactly why. But if you have data on that, I'd be interested.
Okay, so the output being the same, people using AI tools, people not using AI tools. Okay, so
Okay.
compensated for that.
Okay.
The results showed that when reviewers believed that an engineer had used AI, they rated that the engineer's competence was 9% lower on average, despite reviewing identical work.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay,
So there was like an intelligence penalty almost for
so
using
if that pull request is flagged that AI was used to help do it versus a pull request where there was no AI,
That's interesting.
the reviewer felt on average 9%, or excuse me, that the developer using AI was 9% less competent.
Huh. Okay, that's interesting.
Right. Okay.
I think that would be probably also for what it's worth, and I think you kind of alluded to this, but I think that this would be the same across other industries. Like I think about writing. I would imagine if an editor knew that you used AI versus an editor thinks you didn't use AI, they would rate your work a lot higher.
Did you use AI when you wrote our book?
No, I didn't actually.
No, it was kind of a little bit too
It was
early
like
for that
a little
anyways.
too early, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly could have.
Yeah.
But I never would have. I'll talk about a different piece about this later. But I think it wasn't going to be super helpful considering that I think I had like 9 editors for our book.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do I really need another layer? Also, me doing a lot of the editing too.
So
you
10.
friends, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I guess you're 9% more competent as a startup.
perceived 9% more common as a startup book writer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then this other piece being this gender and age bias, okay, which amplify the problem. So, women using AI face nearly twice the reputational damage as men.
Wow.
With female engineers rated 13% less competent when using AI assistance compared to 6% for men. And male engineers who don't use AI themselves rated female AI users as 26% less competent.
Dude, that just sounds like an amplification of already existing like systemic bias.
Yeah.
It's just like another reason to hate on someone who's different from you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like that's obviously not grounded in any fact at all.
Yeah.
So that's so weird to me to think that women would be like like an inferior coder on a one-to-one basis, but B, an inferior coder in a context where they're using the same AI tool. Do you have anything where it was like in the data? Was there anything on like how the output, is this the same output?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is absurd.
This is absurd.
So
right?
this is more a story in my mind about a systemic bias against women.
Yeah. They, my notes were like, it's a social problem, not a technical one.
Definitely a social problem.
Yeah.
If the output's the same, then it's just revealing deep bias against women coders.
Yeah.
Which is not where I expected this episode to go.
No,
but that is that's really messed up.
And what I find scary about this is that if I'm running a startup and these AI tools are available, we all know there's an AI arms race going on. The companies that can implement AI most effectively are going to win. It's going to be a winner take all type of scenario. And here you've got these biases working against using these tools, which create productivity.
Yeah, very counterintuitive.
Forward. Yeah.
I think a lot of this, okay, I don't know. The sex bias there is very much like, just absurd. Is where I'm going to land on that. Like definitely a societal issue that should be solved by society. But in terms of like productivity, that is kind of fascinating that there's a general resistance. I think there's a resistance though in coding, going back to my LinkedIn post, on fear of losing your livelihood.
Right.
I think that a lot of people feel like if they use that tool and then that tool gets better at what they do, that is coming for their job. And frankly, it is. I think about, oh, we talked about this in one of our last episodes, the interview on Friends Lenny podcast with the Anthropic Ben, whatever his name is,
Yeah.
and the co-founder. And he was like, it's Claude Code, terrible name. I just respect what they're trying to do, but it's really hard to say. Was writing like 95% of their code.
Yeah.
So, if you hear that as a software developer, I think, your ears perk up. I think your back shoots up. You're alert to this is a problem.
That's one thing when you are an AI company, and of course you're going to believe in your own technology and use your own technology. So they're going to be the most.
They have to be
forward adopting.
If they weren't, I'd be very skeptical.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this this is interesting too, because what you think would be really important. I think one of the things that's really important going forward in our society is that we need to be flagging stuff as AI generated or generated using assistance from 100%. AI. So
there's flags on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah,
we do stuff.
There's like this transparency piece. About whether AI was using.
It's like optional. Like people have to flag it.
But isn't it interesting that it backfires in this scenario?
Oh yeah, true.
Knowing that this pull request was generated with AI assistance or entirely AI, then penalizes the person who did it.
Segue here for a second. One of the websites I like to go on, as I think is Imgur.
Yep.
Imgur's like it was bought by Reddit a million years ago, I think, and now it's owned by some other company, and they're doing some terrible stuff. But anyway, what's interesting about on Imgur is there's a really visceral hatred of AI. Okay.
Really?
And so there's two thoughts on this. One is I think Imgur just happens to be a very left-leaning website.
Okay.
I don't really know why, but a lot of the community just seems to be pretty left-leaning, which is fine. I have no issue with that. It's interesting. So there's that. But then there's also, I think, a big part of that community is around like creators. And I think creators also have a really profound fear of AI for the same reason.
Right.
And I remember when you would see some, like probably about 6 months ago, when you were seeing a lot of posts suddenly by AI generated images, for instance,
right?
You would see the first comment would be this kind of like stamp thing that says 100% AI bullshit. That was, and people would they're basically people who just go around and do this.
Really?
And so I wonder if there's something like playing into it there as well, that like you don't, on the one hand, we should signal for transparency, but it's definitely punished if it's identified as AI. I wonder if people put on their posts, I made this with AI. That would be better or worse. I think
would it still get the stamp?
I think people would still get the stamp, and they still just downvote it. The way Imgur works is you upvote or downvote.
Okay.
And whatever's on the front page, it used to be called the front page of the internet. Yeah. So whatever is on the front page was upvoted the most by the people in user sub.
Ah, cool.
And so anyway, so I think they would just get buried. Is sort of the nuts and bolts of it. So it's kind of fascinating. I think it's there's a lot of hype around AI, and part of it feels like the counterculture, this like visceral fear that this is going to replace jobs.
What you do. And even if you're just somebody who posts funny pictures on Imgur,
and they make money doing that somehow.
You don't want some like bot out there that's able to do way better stuff and just like outpost you and
easily, right? Like, but that is kind of interesting that okay. Tired of business authors and influencers who have never had a successful business? Me too. I sold my company for $40 million, and I want the same success for you. Check out Startup Different on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. So let's put this into a situation that's relevant to people watching. So you have a startup or side hustle or whatever. Maybe you've got like an employee or two. How do you think about these AI tools? And
exactly.
I think there's a wide range of like kinds of businesses, like different contexts, but to me, it would be really surprising if you, especially as a small company founder, you're not incredibly motivated to having people use these AI tools as much as possible. And yet you have to be aware that there's kind of this negativity associated with it.
So I would, as like a software development manager, I would be very much in favor of these because I definitely have a backlog that we cannot mow through fast enough.
Right.
I would be encouraging this everywhere I could. I would have to be aware of this bias. And when I think about the personalities in our development team and our former development team,
cool
this is a real thing. I can think about which people would be on board to use the AI tools and which people would be like
immediately resist it.
You're an idiot.
I think we know exactly who this is.
Exactly.
And so that would be interesting to see. So this, perhaps it comes down to a fundamental problem around like a comfort level, an education, and like job security of middle management. Because I wonder if that's a lot of this too. So the people they're being like evaluated on the code they're making, that evaluation is basically internal. There's
Right.
no customer who's going to look down on you for making a product more quickly, and you're not going to be like, "Oh, we did it all by AI," unless they ask and you
Yeah.
want to be transparent. But you know what I mean. Like, I wonder if to some extent too, it's like, so you're a middle manager, you're a coder that's been doing a software development manager at a big company.
Yeah.
You are 45 years old. You've
Yeah.
been doing it for a long time. You have a lot of respect for the process and paying your dues. Then you have a 25-year-old coder who, perhaps a woman in some cases, who generates really good code, a really good finished product. You're gonna hate on them because that is threatening.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
considering the incentives there in a lot of
Yeah.
these situations where that data is going to be pulled,
Yeah.
those people don't want
That's an
too good
interesting
code.
comment. Let me make a comment to you. Do you remember the first developer we hired to help with App Armor, Mavdi?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I remember having a conversation with Mavdi, and he was explaining to me that it could either be he could either code it fast or he could code it with high quality, but you traded one for the other.
Right, it's a zero-sum game. I remember this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I drew a chart, kind of doing like a 2x2,
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
high
remember.
quality, low
Classic.
quality, high
Classic, Chris.
productivity, low
Whiteboard.
productivity.
Yep.
And I said, yeah. So you're arguing it's like this, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to go along this
like
spectrum.
a linear declining
Can you give up
line. Yeah.
productivity for quality or vice versa?
Yep.
Okay. And I said to him, I said, yeah, but as you develop things, you gain experience, and that line like shifts out. Okay. So you can actually get higher productivity and higher quality because you have experience.
Cool.
Okay. And I think AI is the thing that actually can help you do that as well. Like as
Sure.
a second bump.
It
know?
compensates earlier on. Like
Right.
that you would. So if you imagine the chart, instead of it going straight down, it's kind of like a little dip and then kind of like it won't be as good as someone who's as experienced. Maybe not right now. Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't used Claude code, but that's an interesting take too.
Yeah.
But I do think it comes to this incentive thing. It comes back to people just being resistant.
I think as a manager, you're going to have to work to change those perceptions, because I want high quality and
But
speed.
I think they just don't want to lose their job. I think it's not not just AI.
I struggle with that because I remember our product backlog at one point had like 5,000 items on it, and we actually cleaned it up and got it down to 1,000 like legit items that we had to do.
Right.
And I think we were knocking down maybe like 30 a sprint.
Yeah.
So like we had weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of work, and we were turning down so much stuff that we could have been doing.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't understand the I'm going to lose my job piece. Okay. At least not yet.
You're looking at it so from the CTO co-founder perspective,
right?
Which is not wrong. Like, obviously productivity is good.
Yeah.
And more efficiency, more spend efficiency, more profit per employee, all these important metrics.
Yeah.
But you considering I really think if you're in a bigger company, 250 people, you're a middle manager, you're one of like 10 middle managers of a big development team, you can see how this would get threatening quickly. I think that maybe like let's just change like metaphor for a second. So if you were like, let's say you were a student at a school, and just leave AI for a second. Let's pretend AI doesn't exist. You write a friggin' awesome essay.
Yeah.
The best essay on whatever. It's so good that it's threatening to the TA that's marking it.
Right.
That TA will be hard on you.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's something about like fear of being one-upped.
Yeah.
And I think in bigger organizations, like, even if it's not just I'm going to lose my job, even it's like this person's making code so well and being so productive that they could have my job. And even if or be promoted faster than me or be seen as a rising star, like, people are weird. Big organizations are political.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also a big part of this. And I think that definitely you've also identified a systemic problem around women in the workplace there too, and certainly them being promoted over what is probably a man in a lot of these cases.
Okay. So let's give the listeners some takeaways here. Okay. We understand the issue. Okay. You use
Sort of,
AI tools. You're perceived as dumb. There are issues around the gender biases, or older people using AI are perceived as less competent. This is a big issue that we need to be aware of.
Uh-huh.
But like, how do we action it? what are the takeaways as a manager? I think the first thing is you have to be aware of this. You have to share this. Okay. That, hey, just so you know, data actually shows that we're going to think people using AI are like 9% less
cool.
competent. So let's just offset
I like the
that.
transparency.
Let's just
there.
be aware
Yeah.
of that.
Yep.
Okay. That there's going to be that built-in bias. Okay. But let's actually now go back to the data and say, like, look, how can we use this responsibly and make ourselves more productive where we are chewing through that backlog? And maybe part of it is what you talked about, which is eliminating any risk of anybody like losing their job. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of the
that,
time is you got to identify the people that they have the security that they desire.
Yeah.
In order to create like effectively like a safe environment for this kind of stuff.
The word sabotage, didn't it come from I think I got this from a Star Trek movie or something like that, where sabotage is like workers who didn't want machines to take their jobs, took their wooden shoes off, which were called sabots, and threw them into the machine.
You're right. Yeah.
It's like a really obscure Star Trek reference. But is it kind of that's happening? Is this the sabotage that's going on? I'm going to sabotage by perceiving that this person is less competent.
There's probably also some element of like, look, I paid my dues. I'm 45 years old. I worked really hard to do all this stuff. I didn't have AI and I got here. Yeah. And then look at you. You're able to use an AI tool and be almost as functional as me in like a fifth of the time.
I will say that I hate that as well.
Yeah.
I'm in that category.
You feel it, right?
Where like some jackass who can't code goes on to Lovable or something like that. I'm like, I can build apps. And like,
it's true. Like, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
And like, okay, well, actually do it. Like, actually do it. Put it out there. Support it. Have it break. And then try and fix
That's really
it.
the issue.
Okay? Like there's more to it than that. But I hate that these people who are always like maybe fancy themselves as coders, always thought that maybe I could take up coding and be a really good coder, and then but leverage really
like
want to do it. And then now see AI, and then like, I can do it because I have AI. And like, I hear that guy's dumb. Here I am going right.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you've got an issue with it, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I can see that piece of it, but I don't like that.
I think a lot of it is that. I honestly think more of this is about job protection and security and paying dues and like social norms, societal norms, as opposed to an actual functional issue with AI.
So bottom line is not a technology problem. It's a cultural one. And I think that leadership has to set the culture on this sort of stuff and be aware of these biases and get ahead of them and action them that way. Because like, frankly, I want those productivity gains. I don't want to be the last last software development company that decides to start taking up using AI to help code faster.
For sure.
Because you're out of business. You're gone.
Yeah, I think so too. You know? I think so too. I remember when I was a kid, maybe just wrapping this up, I remember seeing like an ad on TV for like IBM, and it was like, any business not on the internet is not in business. And this was like in 2004 or 2 or something, probably right around the .com bust. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, whoa, well, if I ever start a business, I better make sure I'm on the internet. And that's how I thought about that. And you know, I kind of the AI thing feels. I wasn't like working then. Obviously, it was really small, but it feels kind of like that at times. Where, or at least for people who are closely watching this, that the winners in any market are going to be the ones that are best at using these tools. And fighting these kinds of biases will be super important going forward. So cool, man. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week, folks. Looked at the wrong camera there for a second. Good luck. God bless. See you next week. Hey.
Start it up. Let's get it rolling. Big ideas, money folding. Hustle smart, dream so wild. Turn that grind into a joyride.